Parashat Shoftim. Why is that parasha important? Because it's one parasha before my birthday, my bar mitzvah parasha.
It's my parasha.
This is your parasha? No, it's not. Okay. The parasha starts with the word Shoftim v'shotrim titen lecha b'chol sha'arecha. You should put judges and officers and all your doors and all your gates. In other words, the city gates. Maybe not, but we'll see. Of course, this is not to hint to us on the gap in our understanding of what the judge is today to what the judge really is according to Jewish law. And there's a complete difference between the two. The Zohar on Parashat Shoftim explains that the word shofet means balance. And maybe not for nothing, the symbol of any judicial body is always those scale that have to be balanced. If you want to know, that's where it came from. And we need to know that in any person there are three different types of forces that operate within him. The power of giving, which is the right side, which represents with chesed, kindness, and love. The power of receiving, which is the left, which is din, judgment, gvura, and the balancing force in between them, in other words, the vector in between them, the kav emtzai, is rachamim and harmony. According to Jewish law, when a person is being found guilty, it's because he came out of balance. He's a very unbalanced person, and therefore, to bring this criminal back into balance and harmony, right? That's basically our job. And for sure, because the reason why he came out of balance is because he was, overly dominated by the left side, which represents with din and selfishness. And that basically what caused it. It was over to the left. So that's what caused it. And therefore the job of the judge is to really bring the person, as we said, back into harmony and into balance. And that is the meaning of the verb in Israel, shafat, lishpot, like pshat, pashut, simple. That's why the Zohar emphasizes, the Torah says, Shoftim v'shotrim titen lecha, when you should give it to you, it means that it's a mitzvah, and it's not a societal need. And we need to understand why it's important. Of course, we have to ask, why does it start and it jumps around in terms of plural and singular, right? However, the Gemara teaches us that, or according to the Zohar, let's put it this way, according to the Zohar, the concept of mitzvah, which is what we call a commandment, is really to connect, let's say, heaven and earth, to connect the body and the soul together, and to connect spiritual awareness with a physical action, right? Im en kavanah and emunah. You have to be mitkaven to do something. The kavanah means intent, and that's how your emunah comes about. If you do things as a robot, you're not going to have emunah. I'm just going to tell you that. So you have to be aware of what you're doing. So when the shofet, the judge or the shoter or the cop or the policeman or the officer, and therefore anybody who holds a public job in society, if they're going to act from a place of purpose and a spiritual job, by being very connected and aware to connect the public job with a divine value, right? What we call erech eloki, of a mission and purpose, then we might have a good chance. If not, it's really a problem. Now, of course, that the driving force is going to be different than that, so the results will be different as well. And naturally, when a person does his actions from, okay, which is, I would say, almost very much Ayn Rand kind of rational thinking, okay, what do I get out of it? Or like, what have you done for me lately, kind of a thing. And so therefore, when the motive is completely selfish, there's nothing that is going to encourage and push the person to really grow and develop and make this into a better place. And that's why there is so much discontent and the approval rate of people that hold public jobs, it's really low. Because it's all about, as I told you before, once you get elected, the first thing you do after the first day is, okay, what are we going to do to get reelected as well? That's exactly what my rabbi told me years ago. It's going to be, you run a campaign on an agenda of, oh yes, I'll help, I'll this, I'll that, and all of a sudden it's, okay, what can I do from this point on to hold my position so I can get another term in office? And it has no difference if it's in Israel, or it's in America, or it's in, I don't know where, Australia, or anywhere else in the world. Because the motive is selfish to begin with. It's all about me. It's not about what I want to do. So the Gemara teaches us that in order for the shofet, for the judge, to do his job appropriately, he needs to understand that every person has a nitzotz eloki, has a divine spark inside of him, in which we need to care about, we need to love that spark, and we need to bring that spark to be an active part into his life, and by doing so bringing the person back into a state of stability. It's almost the difference between Oriental medicine and Western medicine. Western medicine, in a way, there's no difference in the way they run the courts, right? When in Western medicine, you are sick, so we're going to take care of the symptoms. Motivated, of course, by Big Pharma, yes. Which is all about making money, and good for them. Let them make money. I mean, we're all making money. Islam law, they're allowed to. However, it really should be like in the East, in Chinese medicine, Eastern medicine. They view a disease as a state of lack of balance in the person, and it's very interesting that in Chinese medicine, also mental issues are viewed as an imbalance in the body. I don't know about today, but I think that China probably has the least number of psychiatrists and mentally ill people. I mean, not that they don't, but it's different. They treat it with medication to bring the person back into balance, not to treat the symptom, to bring you back into balance. Surprisingly enough, that's exactly what the Rambam writes in his medicinal writing as well. Therefore, we need to make sure that we maintain our bodies all the time, and to see if something is wrong, immediately fix it. If something goes a little bit there, immediately fix it. Because at the end, your body will affect your spirit. It's one integral unit. The one affects the other. Therefore, if one is out of balance, everything else will be out of balance. And we need to understand that. So therefore, any person that holds a public job or becomes a public servant, he needs to understand that he's a public servant, not that the public serving him. And that is true whether you're a mayor, president, or just work in the DMV, seeing people all day long. You are there to serve the people. So if we will do so, and if there is one would understand that this is really a divine mission that HaKadosh Baruch Hu gave you, place you in this place to serve the people, that's a great thing. We take a person, we call him Shaliach Tzibur. Shaliach Tzibur, that's the Chazan, right? The person who prays in front of the holy congregation. He is the representative of the whole congregation. And during his tefillah, we reach such a height that you're not even allowed to talk, and so on and so forth. So, And who do we take as a shaliach, or at least supposed to take as a shaliach tzibur? A person, the first of all, is Yirat Shamayim, and so on. Today, everybody, it's all about the voice. We don't care about, your midot, it's all about the voice, right? So, but that's why things look the way they look. That's why our tefillah is also kind of empty, and it's the same thing. So, if a shofet does not see that, he is pasul, he is disqualified from being a shofet, and is disqualified as being a cop or any other public servant, because the leading role or the leading thought behind becoming a public servant is ve'afta l'reacha kamocha. You should love your fellow Jew as much as you love yourself. So you want to be treated nice, you treat other people nice. Even more so now that you serve the people. And by the way, that has to do with rabbis, that has to do with everybody else. Anybody that deals with the public, you need to make sure that you hold this job in very, very high esteem and understand the magnitude of the job. You're dealing with people. It's not just a joke. And more than that, it says, "Ve'esot hayashar ve'atov." In other words, you need to act in a level, on a midah of rachamim, or a midah of love, compassion, and responsibility towards HaKadosh Baruch Hu, towards God Himself, and His creations as well. Ida, can you put the Etzion? And when this law is not being, or this rule is not being followed, we call this halal. Halal means there is a vacancy, there is an empty space, there is a hollow. And that's why when we read the parasha of Eglah Arufa, it says, Ki matzeh halal nofel basadeh. מה זה חלל? כי יימצא מת. למה חלל? The reason is because, and what do we do then? We bring the Shoftim, we bring those people who hold the public job, the judges and the sages and the mayors and so on and so forth, and we measure the closest city to the place of the event, and after we measure, we determine which city it belongs to, we hold those judges, we hold those mayors, and so on and so forth, responsible for what had happened. So if, for example, you have a mayor in a city, and in the city there's crime, well, that's basically his fault. I was, about a month ago in a rally for my neighbor who was murdered. He was gunned down on the way to going to the mosque. He was gunned down. And I heard all these politicians, they really want to make me vomit. All this city, this one, this controller, that controller, that, and so on and so forth. Everybody's blaming. You see how everybody's pacing the buck somewhere else. We need Washington. What do you mean? What did I didn't vote Washington. I voted you. You have a police. Uncuff the police and arrest the criminals. Don't set the criminals free and put the police in handcuffs. It's your job. It's your responsibility. We hold you accountable because it's under your watch. You were selected for that. And the reason why we hold those judges as responsible for that, right? Of course, they do the very weird ceremony of they take the calf and then they bring it to the river and they chop the head off and so on and so forth, and then they say Yadenu lo shafchu et adam hazeh ve'einenu lo ra'u. Our hands did not spill the blood and our eyes did not see it. Therefore, if something is happening in your city, in your town, in your congregation, or whatever it is, and you close your eyes or you blame somebody else, you are at fault. In other words, the Torah gives the responsibility for this murder for those people who are in charge of social justice of the city. You are in charge. You are the mayor. You are the borough controller. You are whatever you are. It's your job to do so. Don't tell me somebody else is responsible. You're responsible. You're responsible. So the Ari said the world is so-called Adam Gadol, a great man, so-called, and the man itself is basically is a small world, and you know, and this one includes this one, and this one is inside the other one. One is inside the other. In other words, whatever happened inside the person would reflect itself and manifest itself into the world, and whatever happens in the world will affect you as well. That's why when today things are completely out of whack, you need to go to the other. Listen, if for example we apply Newton's law, right? So something is rolling in this direction, everything is going on. All of a sudden we became very liberal, right? And we became liberal and we diverted, 10 degrees to the right, or there was a force that of, let's say, 10 pounds applied to us to the right, or to the left. Let's go to the left, okay? So now what happens? In order for me to maintain this force going to the left, I need to apply of 10 pounds force on it, and then we'll continue going left. And we'll go this way instead of this way. But in order to bring it to the center, I need to apply now 20 pounds of force, pushing it this way. So when you have, for example, a president that will become more, let's say, conservative than liberal, he would have to be such an extreme conservative in order to bring things back to the balance. And what scares me about the over-liberalism, which is basically, liberalism is a new world religion. It's new world religion. It operates almost like a mafia kind of a thing. Now, what scares me about it, that in order for things, we've been going so far left, that in order for us to come back to the middle, we'll have to go so far right. And I'm very scared of fascism on the right, as much as I'm scared of fascism from the left. Somehow, the Jews always suffer. Maybe because we should speak out louder about what is, maybe we should connect back again to how the Torah views the word, and we should not be apologetic about it. Maybe that. Now, we need to understand that it's not just society, it's also about how you conduct yourself as well. And how you conduct yourself, and that's why you need to conduct yourself in a very healthy and appropriate way that would serve a purpose in creation. In this case, man, the individual himself, is the judge, and he's the officer, and he's the king, and maybe he's even the prophet of his own self, because in him are all those forces, and he needs to conduct all this business according to the ways of the Torah. Not according to the way of your world, or according to CBS, or according to NBC, or JFK, or whatever it is. According to the world, to the view of the Torah. And the Parashat therefore teaches us that you really need to nominate, as we say, Shoftei Tzedek, right? And that it has to be in such a way that they would be aware that they are being nominated and they should be Shoftei Tzedek. And of course, you see what's going on in Israel, you see what's going on anywhere in our reality that we know. Usually when you appoint somebody to a job, usually is a very, very, how should I say it, self-serving nominations or appointments. Most people, whether it's in Israel, what's going on there, or not only what's going on there now, but by the way, what's going on in Israel now is a result of a neglect that happened in the Israeli judicial system since the 80s. So now you want to create it, a correction, and now all of a sudden the Israeli army cannot fight. Okay, so when people reach an appointment because of a self-need to honor, for stature, for money, for power, and so on and so forth, or people nominate or appoint their friends and somebody they know, not based on their talents and not based on the quality of this person, that's what happens to us today, and that's why we look and where we look today. people should nominate, for example, in the United States, they have a pretty good system in terms of nominating judges to the Supreme Court and so on and so forth. Those nominations, though, we have to be careful as a society, should not be based on anything besides the characteristics and the qualification of that particular judge. And it has to be nothing to do with issues of color, of sex, or to that matter, even political affiliation. It has nothing to do with that. In a way, judges, and in a way, lawyers are the fighters of democracy, are the fighters of our society, and they are there. I'm sorry to tell all those lawyers, and if you don't like it, you don't have to like it, but I'm going to tell you the truth anyway. You're not there to collect an easy buck. Yeah, I know it's very hard to go to law school. I know it's very hard to do the LSATs and to pass the bar and so on and so forth. But you need to understand that you're going to law school out of a mission to serve society, not to make a lot of money. And if you are not qualified, and the same thing applies to doctors. If the only reason that motivates you to be a lawyer or a doctor, you're going to be a lousy lawyer or a doctor. I can tell you that. Or rabbi. So those people, lawyers, judges, are in the front, or should be in the forefront of our society. That's why not everybody should be a lawyer. Not everybody who can argue and could be fast and so on and so forth, who has an IQ of 180, should be a lawyer. A person should be a lawyer. First of all, has to be an honest man. He should not be a selfish person. He should be a person that cares about other people. Then he will be a good lawyer. He will be a good judge. Anything else will be corrupt. Corrupt! Because selfishness will corrupt you, because selfishness comes from the left side, from midat adin, that it will overwhelm you. And then you're going to get so corrupted, you're going to basically, you could destroy other people's lives. So when a judge, for example, by the way, a halachic judge should be one that has the best possible midot, not the biggest Talmid Chacham. I mean, it should be a Talmid Chacham, but it's more important the way he conducts himself in terms of his midot, his qualities, than the level of IQ he has. So when a judge, a Jewish judge, sits in a din, he should not operate from any kind of a self-motivated or self-interest, or any issues of vengeance or hatred, or because you don't like this particular person, or because you want this person to like you. You have to be absolutely neutral. In a way, you have to be so neutral that you're not supposed to know this person or to know anything about the court or about this case to begin with. You have to come to it blank. You need to be a real person that is able to eliminate or put on hold all his emotions or his personal emotions, and to judge the case according to the laws of the Torah, not according to how he feels. And it says, Shoftim v'shotrim titen lecha. In other words, you going to nominate those, because based on your nomination, this is our responsibility. Based on your nomination, based on the people that you appoint, this is how your society would look like. So you have to understand that. Soon we're going to have elections. It's surprising to me how everybody knows who's going to run for office, for city controller, for I don't know what, this, that, or the other thing. Nobody ever knows who's going to be a judge. For me, it's very crazy. The judge runs, for example, an old balance, conservative, Democrats, a judge like this, I don't vote. Out. I don't even want to put my name on you. Who are the judges? These are the people who make the society, not the mayor or not the president. Your judges. Do you know anything about your judges? Nothing. So how can you vote for them? So it's important, it's essential for us that we're going to only nominate the people who are able to do mishpatei tzedek. In other words, they're going to be very balanced, and they're going to be, righteous, and they're going to be as honest people as we can. And when we have this kind of judges, the whole reality falls in place as it should. Listen, we live in a very difficult generation. We call it Ikvata de Meshicha, the foothills of Mashiach, the last generation. And it says in scriptures on the last of Mashiach, it says in Masechet Sota. Pnei Ador kefnei hakelev. In other words, the face of the generation is like a face of a dog. Like we have dog face. So of course, why dog face? Well, what's wrong with dogs? I mean, they're kind of cute, especially when I don't own them. It's another thing that is beyond me. So there is a beautiful mashal, beautiful parable from the Maggid Miduvna about this dog that came and complained to the lion. So the dog goes to the lion and he complains. He says to him, listen, let me just straight up for you, Mr. Lion. We're both pure animals. We're not kosher animals, right? Both the dog and the lion. So why you, the lion, everybody loves? They always put your picture on the Aron Kodesh, on the flags of Simchat Torah. The sign of Mashiach is the lion, Shevet Yehuda, right? Lion of Zion, Zion of lion, whatever it is, right? And so on and so forth. It's a tremendous honor. However, if somebody wants to disgrace another person, so you kill him, you dog. Why is this not right? The lion said to him, Tishma Habibi, just relax. Let me teach you something. This whole issue is because I do not discriminate. Pay attention. I don't favor anyone. I don't care if it's a poor person or it's a rich person. I only see a human being. And when I'm hungry, I'm going to eat him without any discrimination whatsoever. You, on the other hand, the dog, you bark, you growl your teeth at people, right, and so on and so forth. However, if somebody would just throw you a bone, as they say, give the dog a bone, right? All of a sudden you wiggle your tail, and it's all good. That's why Pnei Ador ki Pnei HaKelev. We lost our dignity. We lost the direction of who we are, what we are about, and where we're dealing with you go to a judge, and I'm not saying all judges, but there are certain judges in certain countries in the world, it could be a very mean judge and so on and so forth, but as they say in the Middle East, a little bakshish, a little bit grease in the pockets, it's all good. Free to go. We'll give you an offer you can't refuse. Free to go. Very few judges. There are some fantastic. I had the pleasure when I went to Albany. I had the pleasure to meet some really fine people. Yes, you know what? Most of them were completely liberals, but it doesn't make a difference. They were just fine people, fine judges, and it doesn't make a difference. Okay, they're entitled to their opinion, but how many are there like this? Go to other countries. What's going on is ridiculous. When Israel is ridiculous, judges are being, especially in this Israeli Supreme Court, many times the court becomes a political, power rather than a judicial one. They judge out of politics, not out of the law, and that's terrible. And that's what we get. That's why Israeli society looks the way it looks. It's horrific. So, and we need, in the way we conduct ourselves, we also need to be careful from this dog-faced syndrome that we have ourselves, which is only only to receive. Give me. I want. Give me this, give me that, right? And by doing so, we also take the judgment and we bend it according to what benefit would I get out of it. And they give us a shochad, which is bribery, which makes our eyes blind, up to the point of complete distortion of judgments that needs to come up to light. And then the pasuk says, "Ki hashochat ya'aver inei chachamim ve'yisalev divrei tzadikim." Bribery is going to. Bribery not necessarily means money. Bribery is I'm going to give you, and I'm going, you are, some lower circuit judge. I'm going to nominate you to. That's also bribery. I'm going to invite you to my inauguration. That's bribery, and so on and so forth. It will make the judges blind and distort the words of the righteous. So you got to be super careful to yourself as well. And it says in the Parashat, "V'tzedek yeh lecha," and judgment should be for you, righteousness should be for you, leman yarichum yamecha, in order for you to have long life, longevity. So the word really stands on mishpat and tzedek. That's what the word stands about, on justice and right, ruling, judicial ruling. So if you want long and good life, you have to reach inside of you as well the midah of tzedek. And in the upper world, the concept of tzedek is midat adin. And midat adin is straight. You can't divert. Midat adin, that's how the word originally was created. Straight. It doesn't move right, it doesn't move left, it just goes like a laser beam, straight. And that's the essence of Mishpat Tzedek. And what it says in the parasha, Al pi Torah asher yorucha, based on the laws that you learn in the Torah, Ve'ala Mishpat asher yomru lecha, based on the ruling, ta'aseh, that's what you should do, right? Lo tasu min hadavar asher yigiducha yamin u'shmol. Don't divert from what they say to you, left or right. You're just going to go straight. Don't take chubrot, stringencies, don't take leniencies. That's the halacha, go with it. And that's what we need to understand. It seems like very harsh and very difficult when something maybe the whole entire world cannot deal with this and so on. And we're not asking you to become a robot, but Chazal teaches us that only by this yosher, by this straightness, by this unmanipulated force that we're going to tap ourselves into, of midat adin, only by this we can bring about midat harachamim in the world. Only by this. Only when we say, no, mister, yes, you're a rich man, but you're Bechal Shabbos. I cannot take your money. No, mister, you did wrong to this guy. Only then we can bring about Midat HaRachamim. HaKadosh Baruch Hu says, there's somebody here who's seeking the truth. Tzedek is another word for truth. When you are not seeking tzedek, you are looking for a lie. And we live our lives on and on and on and on with a lie. And it says tzedek tirdof in this parasha. Not only tzedek on the surface, you need to root after it. You have to chase after the tzedek. And of course, there's two different types of tzedek. There's a tzedek who influences, tzedek hamashpia, and there's another quality from the from the side of the mekabel. There is the giving and there's the receiving. And in the sfera of the mashpia and the mekabel, those sferot that correspond is yesod and malchut. Tzedek tirdof refers to yesod, the sfera of yesod and the sfera of malchut. And when we know how to place the name of Yud Kei, right, which is the light of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, in tzedek appropriately, therefore reality changes. So in the first tzedek, we add on the letter Yud, right? And then you take tzedek, right? So the first tzedek, you take the letter Yud. So what are you going to get? Tzaddik. And if you take the Hey of the word tzedek, you put it to the other tzedek, what do you get? Tzedakah. You get a tzaddik, that's tzedakah. And why is that? I'm going to tell you this. Hashem gives you from the 10 sferot down. You are not the one giving the money to the poor person. You are just an extension of God's hand to him. So here, give me your hand 1 second, right? I'm not going to marry you here, right? So if I have a dollar, a quarter, whatever, I'm giving it's not my quarter, it's him. So I'm coming from the 10 sefirot. And then by doing so, by giving, I become the tzaddik, right? And I'm giving him the tzedakah. He gets with his 5 hands, he gets the shefa, he gets the tzedakah, he gets the bracha as well. I'm transferring it to him. This is how we do it. We need to not just do justice, we also to do kindness, acts of tzedakah, to help one another. And tzedakah is not necessarily only with money, it's also emotional tzedakah, right? You see somebody's down, you cheer him up, you help him go to school, you help him get a job, you help your friend come out of a bad situation. Even if your friend tells you, no, everything is okay, and you know it's not okay because his eyes don't lie. At least tell him that you're there for him. So he won't feel alone. Tzedakah is that also. Do we do it or we don't care? We just don't care. So in the world of the Torah, based on the Or Elyon, on the upper light, so therefore the world is conducting itself in tzedakah, and the tzedek comes from the tzad mashpia, from the influencing tzad. It comes down, and then it becomes tzaddik. And then what we say about the tzaddik? Tzaddik Yesod Olam. So the tzaddik comes to the sphere of Yesod, and that's what the world, Yesod Olam, the tzaddik becomes the foundation of the world. So the world really suspends itself on our ability to become tzaddikim, to bring God's light into this world by the act of selflessness, giving, helping, allowing ourselves to become a chariot, a merkava, for the light of HaKadosh Baruch Hu to come into people's life, to come into this world, and we need to understand that. And when we do so, right, and the malchut becomes the receptor of the tzedakah, and therefore the malchut, and malchut means what? Malchut means also kingship, like government, also will conduct the world appropriately. And that's very simple. So therefore the world, the whole entire world, would be dealt with rachamim gedolim, with great mercy. To a certain point, that was what happened in America. Unfortunately, not so much anymore. And when you do so, there is a great abundance of flow that comes from above all the way down, and the word goes alfia mishpat, according to judgment appropriately, and that mishpat will be the sphira of Tiferet. And Tiferet represents the balance in between. That's Tiferet. And the whole entire creation is built on opposing forces. Dark, light, plus, minus, and so on and so forth. The movements of the atoms is all about, the interaction between electrons, protons, and so on and so on, all these opposing forces. That creates the tension, and there's always a constant grind between that opposing forces, fire, water, and so on and so forth. It's hot, it's cold, it's too hot, it's too cold. So it's always like this. There's always interaction like this. And you think about anything, dryness, moisture, dryness, no. But we need always something in the middle that is going to make it equal and would balance and bridge those gaps. Otherwise, it becomes unbearable. Either we're going to have global warming, or we're going to have ice age. We need to create the world on balance. And the same thing, to us. The same thing applies to us. Now, how does it apply to us? It says in Sefer Bereshit. Perek? Which one? Yonatan? Bet. That's right. Perek Bet. Pasuk? Yudchet. All right. Very good. Yonatan. Kol hakavod. It says, Aseh lo Ezer kenegdo. Ezer kenegdo. So ha'ezer, the helper, also has to be kenegdo, against him, opposing him. That's why men and women, guess what, boys and girls? They are not the same.
Shocking.
They're not the same. They're different. I'm not saying one is not important. They're both equally important in order to create a flow of healthy flow in the world. What will be the world if only men? What will be a world without women? Oh, I mean, with only women. Without, it's impossible. That's why a child, to be healthy, needs a daddy and a mommy of opposing sexes. Not like what they tell you today in school, boys and girls. And I'm not sorry about that. That's the truth. So why is it important to be different? Because when a person is intellectual and he knows how to conduct himself, the neged, the opposing force, becomes a helping force. So when you appropriately know how to deal with your wife, to treat her, and so on and so forth, she'll become your helper. So therefore, in any opposing force, when you know how to conduct it, that becomes a contributor. You need that. Imagine you would live in a world with no darkness. It would be terrible. Or with no light, even more horrific. We need that. And that is a tremendous wonder when all of a sudden, because of that, there is the middle part that comes, that brings them together. In a husband and wife, and a man and a woman, that middle part will be the baby. That what the baby does? Brings Christ, that's right. And you need to actually change the diaper. That was a good one. Yeah, you could tell your daddy. Yeah, but that brings them together. That brings them together. And that will direct it to the appropriate, place that you need to be, and the appropriate measurement, and so on and so forth. So when you take, for example, water and fire, right, and you put the water in a pot on the fire immediately, right? So what happens? The pot is the average in between that's able to hold the water in and retain the heat and spread the heat, and you can make yourself something to eat. And now that's terrific. That's normal. That's beautiful. So when a person understands that in his life, in marriage life, there are three partners. There's him, his wife, and there's God. And he understands that, he would make sure to include God in everything else that happens at home. And everything at home will direct it according to God. That's why I'm telling you guys, if you're going to marry a woman who is gorgeous, beautiful, gorgeous, but her first intent is not to be a servant to God as much as you should be, you made a big deal. You made a bad deal. You made a very bad deal. These are the measures in which you should measure who you should get married to, not the size of her skirts or the size of her hips. You need to measure her based on her yirat shamayim and her willingness to grow in what we call Bait Ne'eman B'Yisrael. Ne'eman means a house that is established on emunah, on belief, not on going vacations to Bermuda or Aruba or Cancun. Based on, look who's here. You're late. Maybe you want to spend some dinner on Monday? So, there was a yes. We'll take it for a yes. All right.
Sunday.
No, Sunday we have taken. Jonathan, write him down for dinner on Monday. Now, when we need to bring when we bring a Kadosh Baruch Hu, which is a partner, would bring it, then the middle force, the middle ground would reveal itself, and that would connect all the opposing forces into one beautiful entity. And that's a Jewish home. That's the emunah. And by doing so, you stop the grind. You stop the friction between husband and wife all the time. And when there is a household, that there is no emunah, in other words, God is not present. You can wear a kippah and have a beard, you can wear a shaitel, and you can wear, I don't know what, the sombrero on top. I don't really care. But if you don't actively pursue the involvement of God into your house, you will divorce. If you can afford it, of course. But that's what will happen. And this is how you reach Shalom Bayit. Shalom Bayit is not because you go to a rabbi, you put $20 in his pocket and you say Shalom Bayit, or you go to some Mekubal Mebulbal that writes you all kind of kmeot, amulets and shmambulets and does all these things, hocus pocus. Sorry, that's Avodah Zarah, that's idol worshiping. Shalom Bayit is when you understand what we just said before. And that's why the mishpat is the yesod, is the foundation, is the pillar of the existence of everything in the world. Once this balance is being interrupted, life is in the danger. Now it's based on the individual, on the nation, or even the environment. We need to bring the world back into balance. And in other words, if there's no mishpat, if there's no judgment, and if there's no mishpat tzedek, nothing would work. It will become an anarchy. It will fall apart. And I don't need to tell you, look what's going around here. There's no judgment. People do crimes all over the place. I don't understand New York City. Last time I checked, there is a helmet law in New York if I want to ride a motorcycle. Actually, scooter, motorcycle, anything and so forth. Nobody wears helmets today. No one. When we had guys that drove on a sidewalk with a bicycle, they had a court appearance. Today they ride scooters on sidewalks with no helmet and unregistered. And what do you do to them? Nothing. A revolving door. They don't even stop them, for crying out loud. That is a sign of deteriorating society. There should be a warning sign to all of us. Not gun control. This is where it starts. When the judicial system and when the law enforcement does not work. This is how we fall apart. And this kavaya, there's a direct connection between Parashat Shoftim and whatever happens in Chodesh Elul, which is really what we call Mazal Betula. The sign of Elul is a Virgo, right? And one of the characteristics of a Virgo is being very critical, paying attention to small details all the time. And in this month, Chodesh Elul, we are all judges. Before we go to stand in front of the judge in Rosh Hashanah, we are all judges of ourselves. But it's better, therefore, and why is that? Because it's better for us to judge ourselves and to fix ourselves by bringing our life back into balance, rather than HaKadosh Baruch Hu does it, and I'm not quite sure we're all ready for that. And in this month, right, this is the perfect time to do so. The timing for that is perfect. HaKadosh Baruch Hu brings himself closer, makes himself revealed to us more than usual, just so we'll be able to connect ourselves to that and to fix ourselves appropriately. So a moment before Rosh Hashanah, we get our chances to balance the books. We're telling you, listen, you're gonna get summons on Rosh Hashanah. Balance your books. I'm not gonna come in surprisingly. Balance your books. You have to pay attention to details. You have to pay attention to the lack of balance inside of you. When a person does an averah, it's not just saying chatati, aviti, pashati. You need to understand, why did you do that? What was the initial decision that you made that led you all the way down the rabbit hole? This is given to us, especially now. And pay attention to your details. Pay attention to the small things, because as they say, is what?
Devil's in detail.
Devil's in details, you're right. When you don't pay attention to it. When you don't pay attention to the details, that's where you're going to find the devil. Now, Rabbeinu Chaim Vital in Shar Kavanot says the following. Shar Psukim says the following. Based on that, it says, Shoftim v'shotrim titen lecha bechol sha'arecha. That's what I have the mark over there. Shoftim v'shotrim titen lecha bechol sha'arecha. It says, what are those gates? Titen lecha b'sha'arecha. It should be titnu lachem. You should give to yourself, plural. Mazel lecha. To you, singular. It means, what are the gates? Enayim, eyes, ears, nose, mouth, hands. You need to pay attention to all these things. In other words, you need to put guards You need to put officers on all your senses. In other words, you become in control. In order to reach a balance, you need to reach a certain level of control over your senses. You should not look at what you should not be looking. You should not say what should not be said. You should not hear what should not be heard, and so on and so forth. This is our obligation. And if you think it's hard to do it, well, I'll tell you what. Regardless of popular belief, HaKadosh Baruch Hu helps you this month more than any other month. Regardless of that we have the pasuk Kol habali ta'er mesayim biyado. If a person wants to purify himself, he gets a special heavenly support because of their purification. But even more so in the month of Elul, you'll have this ability to really see the nitty-gritty, the fine tuning that you need to your soul to bring yourself back to a state of equilibrium, a state of balance. And only like this we could fix society. We could fix what is wrong, whether it's the environment, whether it's government, whether it's school, whether it's everything, whether it's ourselves. Shabbat Shalom and Rosh Chodesh Tov.